Alright, hello YouTube. I got another video for you. I've been a little under the weather though, so you're going to have to put up with some sniffles and a shitty voice. But I have the time now, so I figured I'd get it taken care of. This video is going to be about basing and ground cover. I've gotten a lot of questions about what I do for that, so I'm just going to show you my strategy behind what I do. Basically, what I'm looking for is variety. So, I'm going to give you my little hints and tips on how I accomplish that. This is just a little Her Starts thing I made at a seminar a couple months ago that we're just going to practice on here. I'm probably going to do some grass around the outside, some dirt on the inside. That way you can see the two main things I use when I do basing. Alright, we're just going to start here. Some glue. One color, static grass. Going to put it on in random patches, not covering a whole lot of the board. Just brushing on my PVA Elmer's glue. Didn't thin it down at all. I'm going to sprinkle on my grass. Press it down a little bit to make sure they stick. This is just Woodland Scenics burnt grass. Kind of a brownish color. Alright. Make sure that's all getting good coverage. And we'll just shake off the excess. There we go. Just going to dump off the extra back into the original bin. Alright. Nothing too complicated now, right? So let's move on. I'm going to do that again with a couple more patches of a different color. I have the Citadel, just generic grass color. Same deal. A couple spots of glue. Dump it on. Now this time, when we shake off the excess, some of that burnt grass is going to come off with it. Kind of hard to tell because this Citadel grass is actually a mix to begin with. It has green, yellow, and like a brown in it already. But if this had just been bright green or like the yellow dead grass look, that brown is going to stick out pretty bad. And we don't want to contaminate our original container with that darker color for future projects. So what I'm going to do is I actually have dump bins. Two different kinds actually. This one has mostly static grass in it. There's coffee grounds in there, there's turf in there, there's coarse turf, there's leaf litter, there's some moss in there, sticks. Basically anything that's a little bit larger, too mixed to go back into its original container, goes in here. And then I use this to cover large areas of my base because the variety is already built in. So if we're doing a large area on the ground, every time you dump this on it, it's going to be different. I also have somewhere one full of smaller pieces. This is mostly fine turf. Woo, good thing it's getting mixed in, right? This is mostly fine turf, coarse turf, coffee grounds, tea grounds, leaves. So if I'm doing something a little smaller, I use this. I'll even use this for doing like moss growing on rocks. I'm going to take this, dump it into my mixture. That way I still keep my flock. I'm not contaminating the original. And it looks good. So now I'm just going to do the rest of my grass area with that smaller pre-mixed bin. The thing is too, I could have painted this board green before I put the grass down, because there's no way you're going to get your flock to cover 100% of your board. Some of that's going to show through. I don't really care for this piece. Don't really want it to look that lush anyway. But if you're using foam core or a piece of cardboard that's white, holy shit, pretty please, would you paint it? It's going to look like shit if you don't. That white showing through, it's just going to be bad. Pink foam, insulation foam, the blue foam, same deal. It's going to look bad. Paint it brown, paint it green, you know, do something. Then cover it with your grass or flock or dirt or whatever you're doing. Alright, just going to press that down a little bit. And then that can just go right back into the container it came from. Right, can you see that? Hopefully. We've got some areas, the dark grass and the bright grass that I put down first. And we have the rest of the ground cover. Next, we'll do the dirt. No. Alright, my typical dirt is something I actually made on purpose. I mix it ahead of time with coffee grounds and tea grounds. Usually black tea. The different kinds of tea you buy is going to get you different color of grounds. I bought this peppermint tea once. It tasted like shit, but it had a pretty box, so I bought it. Now I just use it for terrain because I don't want to drink it. That has a lighter, kind of yellower color to it. Your typical black tea kind of looks a lot like coffee grounds, but a bit lighter, redder color to it. After it's used anyway, I noticed if you cut open fresh tea bags that haven't been used, it kind of just looks like coffee. But after they, seep out their goodness, it lightens up a little bit. So this is typically what I use for dirt. It's coffee, tea, and some of that peppermint tea. It has a nice variety of colors in there, some contrast. So I pre-mix that and I just do large areas, and then maybe add some details on the top, like grass tufts or bushes, twigs, something like that. So I'm just going to glue that down as it is. There's actually a lot of good food items that make nice miniature dirt. I saw a guy on the internet once. He builds like miniature scenes, basically just so they can get taken pictures of, but they look so realistic, it's amazing. He made this Mars landscape that looked awesome after you took the photo at the right angle, you know. It just looked so real. And then the notes on it were like, he used 6 pounds of paprika and 4 pounds of cinnamon, and it was like, blew my mind how great it was. So I got the bright idea that, hey, I'm going to use spices for this western town I was building at the time. Yeah, so I mixed together some sand, some of that peppermint tea, cinnamon, nutmeg, some onion powder, garlic powder. It's probably in there. It looked really good. It smelled like shit. Oh god, it was terrible. It was so bad. It had to sit outside for like a week to air out. The husband broke his nose and didn't get it fixed. He can't smell. He smelled that shit, I can tell you. Now you can see this is a lot better example than the two grasses. I have grass in here, I have dirt in here, you know, turf. I don't want to put this back into my dirt. I don't want it contaminated. Instead, on my next project, when I do a large area like this, I have little bits of green in it. So that's going into my dump bin. Probably do half in my little stuff, half in my big stuff, just so there isn't too much brown going in one box. A couple people asked me how well the coffee and the tea stay over time. And actually it soaks up the glue pretty well. Coffee and tea are pretty absorbent naturally. You'll notice that if you're drying out some coffee, you just ran through your machine and it's all wet. It's going to take a long time to dry, so plan ahead, more than a day. You know, spread it out on paper towels if you have the room. If you sit and pick at it, it'll probably come off, but normal wear and tear and handling, it actually does pretty good. One thing I do like to do to any of my ground cover, or if I'm doing climbing ivy or moss between rocks, is after it's dry, I spray it down with hairspray. Doesn't matter what hairspray you use, just cheap stuff, Aquanet from the Walgreens or whatever. But it's basically just a mild spray adhesive, you know, ladies are using on their head. And if it keeps fancy hair up on a windy day, it's going to do fine for my grass on the nerd table. So that's something to keep in mind, just to have your stuff last a little bit longer. Use a lot of glue, don't thin it down. Press it in while it's wet. After it's dry, spray it down with hairspray. Otherwise, I think that's pretty much it. Thanks everyone for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you want to see anything else, and I'd be happy to take a crack at it for you. Otherwise, take care until I see you next time. Thanks, guys.